7:19. My daughter's got a day off school this week, having only just gone back, and a day off next week for the bank holiday Monday. Actually, 2 days off next week, of course, because there's strikes next week as well. Starting, I can see, to affect the continuity of their education. This comes just after a long Easter break. Teachers walking out this time again in a dispute over pay. It's this Thursday and then Tuesday next week. The fourth walkout now by members of the National Education Union. I want to find out this morning what's being done to minimise disruption for children. If you've got childcare issues and you can't work from home, this is incredibly difficult, trying to get time off. First of all, our reporter Martin Eastall's been asking parents what they think of all of this.
I think I'm just mixed about it, to be perfectly honest. I do still support them. There are just lots of them, and I think it's just quite disruptive.
Disruptive to you or disruptive to the children?
Disruptive to the children, for sure. I think as well, I have another child who is autistic, and so for him, the disruption is more than my other child who isn't. So it's disruptive in that way.
Yeah, they have to do it because the government's not looking after them right. So.
And it's not causing too much problem for you and your family?
No, none at all. No. I think they should carry on until they get what they want.
Everyone, like the NHS, we all need a proper pay rise to come up with an everyday lifestyle. So I think everybody deserves an inflation or a suitable pay rise.
And how are you getting on with the disruption with the schools being closed?
That is, obviously it's distressing for the children missing their education during this time. Yeah, I'm sure it should be resolved and they should come to an agreement with that.
Well, on it goes. Alan Jones is the industrial correspondent to the Press Association and has been kind enough to guide us through some of this recently. Good morning, Alan. Just remind us again, if you would, please, kindly, what are the teaching unions calling for from the government? Is it just about more cash?
Morning. It is mainly pay, just like all these big disputes now. The same with the nurses, the doctors, the civil servants. It is about pay, although it is about much more than that now, actually. I think you'll find, you talk to any teacher, head teacher, parent now, and lots of teachers are leaving the profession because of the stress they're under, because of pay. So yes, it is pay. They were given, or they were offered rather, a £1,000 one-off payment for this year, 4.3% pay offer for the coming year, and all the main unions, not just, it's not just the NEU, which is on strike this week and next week. All the major education unions have rejected it, and there are talks. There's talk about strikes among kind of head teachers now, as well as teachers. So there's obviously something wrong there, and the NEU have made it clear they would rather be in the negotiating room than on the picket line. But the government up to now doesn't want to meet them.
The unions rejected this recent offer, as you say. Is it simply because it's just not enough money? I mean, it's pretty straightforward, this, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just not enough. They've been making it clear for years, to be honest, but certainly for several months now, that something had to be done to address what they are describing as a crisis in education. And they've made it clear every time the government has made an offer, and there haven't been that many offers, that it's just not enough. There's been hardly any negotiations. It does seem incredible to me that we're talking about another strike on Thursday, another one next week. There's almost certainly going to be 3 more strikes in June and July. There's not more of an effort being made to try and resolve this. That the government isn't saying, right, get in, let's try and sort this out. Otherwise, there's just going to be more strikes and more disruption. And the other incredible thing, I think, is that support for the teachers among parents is holding up, as you heard from the interviews you've just played. I think most parents are on the side of the teachers. They realise what's happening. They see that their children are being taught lessons by teachers who are not qualified in that subject because there aren't enough teachers. So, just with the health dispute, with the doctor dispute, with the nurses dispute, it seems amazing that these strikes are still continuing, and that there aren't, really serious negotiations going on to try and resolve them.
But what we seem to have here, it feels very old-fashioned. It feels like something from the 70s. Is a weird industrial standoff, which will just go on until, one side breaks? I don't know.
Yeah, it definitely is a standoff, a damaging standoff, obviously for children, for parents, and for teachers as well. We're talking about teachers; they don't want to go on strike. We all know teachers. I'm sure many of us have got teachers in our families. They do not want to go on strike. Same with nurses, same with doctors, same with civil servants. All these big groups who are on strike. All the disputes are deadlocked. Massive standoff in all of them, actually, not just in education. And I can't see an end to any of them, to be honest. And, we're not far off now, a year since all these big strikes started. The rail disputes, first big rail strike happened in June of last year. We're not that far off June, so we'll be talking about a year of strikes, which I think is now totally unprecedented.
Thank you very much, Alan, for putting some context around all of that. Alan Jones, industrial correspondent at the Press Association. Stuart Dashwood is the National Education Union rep at Wood Green School in Witney. Good morning to you. Stuart, are you going to walk out again this Thursday and again Tuesday next week as well?
Yes, we are. We are planning industrial action. As your previous guest mentioned, we were offered 4.5%. To put that into some kind of context, the government basically said that money had to be found out of existing school budgets, so it's unfunded by central government. So a large part of the sticking point is not that the government haven't offered us more money, it's that they haven't offered us schools any more money. And this is, schools are expected to find this out of, already massively overstretched budgets. So, yeah, that's one of the major reasons why we are looking at industrial action, is purely because the government won't come to the table and negotiate with us and talk to us about what it is we actually want.
What would it take for you to reach an agreement now with the government? What do you actually want? What would you be happy with?
Well, I mean, for us to reach an agreement with the government at the moment, they'd have to come to the negotiating table, and Gillian Keegan has point blank refused and just said, no, I'm not going to do it. She wants vast concessions from the teaching unions before she's prepared to come to the table, which negates the action we're doing in the first place. What we want is a livable wage. I have colleagues currently who are looking at the prospect of leaving the education profession because they can earn more money almost anywhere else. And if you've, as a young teacher, if you've funded yourself for university, left in tens of thousands of pounds in debt, why would you take up a career in teaching at the moment when it just doesn't pay?
Gillian Keegan has said she's disappointed. Exams are around the corner. Children, of course, still coming out of the pandemic. Wasn't that long ago. We've just had the Easter holiday, and now with May, I know you don't charge of bank holidays, but three Mondays missed this month, plus 2 days. They're missing a month of schooling this week. It's not great for the children, is it? Let alone the parents.
No, and it's not. And strike action is disruptive, and that's sort of part of the reason that strike action often works. But we're not happy. We don't want to be on strike. We want to be in the classroom. That's what we do. We don't do this job to get rich. You don't do this job because it's I'm not looking for investment banker money. We do it because we love it, because we think it genuinely makes a difference, and because we build people for the future. And 13 years of austerity and Tory education policy has led us to this point. So saying that a couple of days here and there is going to, be massively to the detriment of these students doesn't take into account the 13 years of underfunding, overwork, the stretching and destruction of the kind of social state that has caused this problem in the first place.
Thank you very much, Stuart. Stuart Dashwood, NEU rep, National Education Union rep at Wood Green School in Witney. Speaking to the BBC last week, Education Secretary Gillian Keegan, she said the strikes will make it difficult for children, as I mentioned.
It's so disappointing that they are going to strike in this run-up to exam season, when young people are relying on their teachers being there to revise, to be able to get to this point in their life where they feel confident to take these exams, which have an important impact on their life. And they've already suffered so much as a result of the pandemic that it really is extremely disappointing that these strikes have been called. We have made what we think is a fair and reasonable offer of £1,000 and 4.5%. It's been rejected, and I think if you look through the figures, it looks like it's largely been rejected because many teachers thought it was unfunded, and it was funded.
Whose side are you on? You might want to message me on that this morning on 08000 321 333. Start your message with the word Oxford